I'm just going to start by admitting that I was not the safest, smartest, or decent person back when this happened to me. If someone had told me the story, I would not have believed it either. But it is, and I think always will be the most terrifying thing to have ever happened to me. My name is Ali. I'm a guy. I'm slim. I loved keeping fit, and definitely loved being outdoors. It was coming to the end of summer, and I loved being out in the boat. I did not have anything fancy by any means. It was an exceedingly small boat. It could fit maybe 2 or 3 people on board maximum. But I felt alive being out there on the water. Now I do not know what exactly happened to myself here, as I do have some health problems, and I had forgotten to take my medication that day. But as I was far out in the sea, I had blacked out. Again, I was not sure why it happened, or how, but I passed out and eventually I awoke to a sound of the thunderstorm above, with the boat rocking around the place violently. I of course could not see anything all around. I was calling for a mayday with the radio, but getting no response. It was pretty scary. But I was sure God must be with me, as I saw a light in the distance. I quickly grabbed hold of my flare and shot it high up into the sky, and prayed they saw me. And they had. Lifeguard was out in full swing, and I am saved. I was telling myself that this was a lesson that I needed to really learn from, and not going out on my own again. Now, I would love this to be the end of the story, but it was only the beginning. The boat, much larger than my own, pulled alongside somehow with crazy tough waves and threw down a ladder. I tied some rope to my boat and climbed up, still praying I was not going to die or fall off into the sea, and looked up to see someone calling down to me. They were holding out their hand, waving. They pulled me on board, and I laughed to myself a little, thankful I was alive and had been saved. I had not noticed that it was not a lifeguard. By the time I was able to come back to reality, still thankful, I wanted to greet the person who saved me, but they had gone. I also noticed that I had tied my boat to their boat, and I could see it being dragged along. I stumbled over to a door and walked inside. It was the captain's quarters. Nobody was inside though. How strange. No lights were on, and the wheel was swaying back and forth. Ghost ship, I laughed to myself. I called out for someone, but I didn't get a response. So, I searched the rest of the boat and found nobody. Now, I know you are probably thinking I have made this story up, or that it was all in my imagination. But I can assure you that this happened. Just stick with me and you'll see. Now, nobody was on the boat, and if they were, then they were hiding. I found what looked to be the crew quarters and chose to take a seat from the harsh weather, staying warm and waiting for someone to show up. I even took it upon myself to have some food. I did not think of anything aside from myself in that moment. Then I heard someone call from down the hall. Oh! I quickly jumped up and looked down the hallway, half dressed as my clothes were still drying. Still a little damp, I chucked everything back on and walked back around the ship. I still could not see anyone though. I grabbed hold of some paper, a pencil, and wrote down a brief letter to the captain. It had read, "Hi, my name is Ali. You saved me tonight, and I owe you everything. I hope you do not mind in having some of your food. I'm starving and very cold. I have tried searching for you, but cannot seem to find anyone. I will be going to sleep now, as I hope you do not mind that either. Please, come say hello at any time. I really would like to show my gratitude. Ali." I posted it on the wheel that controlled the boat. I really felt uncomfortable leaving the boat as it was. It was just mindlessly drifting through the storm without anyone at the wheel. But it was not like any boat I had seen before. It was old, run down, but at the same time seemed to have a bit of tech underneath the hood. Each room had a very stagnant smell to it, and if you had seen it for yourself, you probably would want to explore it just because it had that eerie vibe. But again, I was tired. I had not taken my medication, and I wanted this crazy night to be over with. I headed down to bed, which sat alongside the kitchen area. Each bed was fully made up. Nothing seemed out of touch, and I could hear the waves crashing against the boat as the storm raged on. It must have been around an hour later when I felt someone tapping me on my head. I opened my eyes and saw nothing. I had to turn my head upward to look out onto the hallway, but nothing was there. I ignored it and almost fell back to sleep when I felt someone push me this time. I jumped up and looked down the hallway, and I couldn't see nothing. Hello? Complete silence, except the sound of the waves and rain slamming against the windows. As I turned around to get back into bed, I noticed a dark figure lying exactly where I was lying. I screamed for my life as I backed off until the bed was out of sight. I am sure it was just the surprise of someone being there that freaked me out so much. I took a deep breath, shook off this cowardly feeling I was telling myself I was having, and walked back in, smile on my face, ready to apologize and greet another person. But nobody was there. I got fully dressed, determined more than ever to find out what the hell was going on. I marched straight back to the captain's deck and waited. I paced around the room, looking out the window as the storm was starting to ease, and only then had noticed my note had been torn off the wheel. It was ripped up on the floor with the words death written around it. I became terrified. My body rose with shock as I pondered to myself that someone was going to murder me. For some reason, my mind just went blank. I did not know what to do, but eventually found myself using the radio to call for help. But it was just static. With the storm continuing to ease, I wanted off this boat and made my way back to mine. Thankfully, it was still tide, and I dropped down the ladders before having one last look at the captain's room. I saw someone standing by the window, staring down at me. I went down those ladders faster than I have ever gone down ladders before and cut ties with the ship. As I turned around, this dark figure was standing in front of me. I screamed and fell back in terror, only to fall into the sea. I scrambled to get back on my boat as quickly as possible and found that nobody was actually there. To when the morning came, the much bigger boat had drifted off out of sight, and I was finally able to call for the lifeguard. I was saved later that day. I had drifted extremely far out during the night, and the lifeguard told me I was incredibly lucky. I had told them about this boat in the sea that did not seem to have anybody on board, but he just looked at me funny, telling me that it was all just my dehydration and I was hallucinating. So, here is what I ask you. Do you think I was just hallucinating all of this? Do you think it was all a very scary dream? Or do you think that all of this happened, and nobody just believes me? Because the thing is, everything seems so real, and usually you do not remember a dream. I am sure it happened for real, as crazy as it all might seem. I lie awake most nights, still to this day, thinking about it. Everything was so vivid. My boat was even damaged. I will let you be the judge of that though.